That day was, you know, shook this country to its roots in many ways.
In the days following September 11th, 2001, the kart champ cars raced for the first and, until today, only time at the Eurospeedway Lausitz in Germany. It was an unforgettable weekend for all the wrong reasons.
It wasn't good. It was terrible.
Things that happened in New York created a lot of stress and anxiety and fear.
We landed 9/11. You know, I was there 2 hours when I had heard that what had just happened at home.
Some of the mechanics' wives, girlfriends, mothers, fathers are all worried about what's going to happen. You know, is this part of some larger, you know, thing?
I think the president said the right thing, which made us go racing, is, you know, everybody should not give in to the terrorists.
The mindset was not into having fun that weekend, yet life must go on, no question.
With the cars already in Europe, the race did go on. But near its end, leader Alex Zanardi lost control and slid into the path of oncoming cars. A collision cost the popular former champion his legs, his career, and very nearly his life. That was 20 months ago, nearly to the day. But today is a new day, and Alex Zanardi is back at Eurospeedway Lausitz for the first time since that awful weekend, leading the way. More than a year ago, Zanardi, while still learning to use his prosthetic legs, approached Champ Car officials with a request. A chassis came from the MyJack Conquest team. Engineering help was provided by kart technical chief Lee Dykstra, Ford Cosworth, and engineer Adam Schachter from the Rocket Sports team for which Alex Tagliani drives. Tagliani being the car that struck Zanardi back in 2001. Last week, Alex Zanardi tried out his new 750 horsepower Champ Car equipped with hand controls. And now here he is, back in Germany, completing the 13 laps that went unfinished back in 2001. Operating the throttle with his left thumb, the clutch with his right hand, and most remarkable of all, working the brake with his artificial right leg using the strength of his hip. And as we all know by now, Alex Zanardi has enormous reserves of strength. What you're watching is a moment Alex Zanardi's legions of fans around the world have been waiting for nearly 2 years. There's the face of Alex Zanardi as he runs down the laps that were denied him so many long months ago. In a way, you're watching athletic history. Surely no paraplegic racing driver or human being of any sort has ever gone this fast, over 194 miles per hour. With just a couple of laps to go. And look at the tens of thousands of fans in the stands here at the Eurospeedway Lausitz. What a moment for Alex Zanardi. And standing by, his wife Daniela is here. Calvin Fish is with Alex Zanardi's former teammate, Jimmy Vasser.
Jimmy, you were teammates with Alex. 96 through 98, the glory years, a great competitor. Talk about the strength of this man here today.
He's absolutely amazing. He always has been. I tell you, I got goosebumps. This is one of the most invigorating moments of my life. This is fantastic.
Surely an emotional moment down here for a lot of these drivers. There's another part of the team that made this thing happen. For that, let's get over to Derek Daly.
There were so many people involved in that day rescuing Alex Zanardi. There are two teams, the medical team, Sue and Liz are here, the nurses. Dr. Steve Alvey, Director of Medical Affairs. Steve, you have to have a sense of great pride, Steve. I can see you shaking, the tears almost coming out at the result. To see what happens here when you consider what happened just a year and a half ago.
Derek, I couldn't be any more proud of CART and the system we have and the safety team. It's unbelievable to see this today.
Did you really think deep down in your heart that Alex might ever even make it?
We were really worried, Derek, but this shows how strong a person Alex is. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person and really a strong guy.
I think you can hear it in Steve's voice. There are two teams. It is the medical team headed up by Steve, and then the Simple Green safety team who are out on the track, led by Lon Bromley and of course Terry Trammell. It was a great day for those two teams.
White flag. Last lap for Alex Zanardi. The checkered flag waves, and Alex Zanardi has completed his personal odyssey back to the Eurospeedway Lausitz. Is this the end of a great racing career, or is this only the beginning for a man who seems to be able to do anything he wants? Once again, here's Calvin Fish.
Well, an emotional moment for everyone down here on pit lane, and for Alex Tagliani, probably every driver's nightmare to be involved in a crash where another competitor gets hurt. Your feelings today as Alex comes back?
Well, I mean, my heart was really tight all along, but what he did is amazing, and it's a great example for people in his situation, but I don't know if a lot of people could manage to do what he did, so it's a relief, but at the same time, it's fantastic for him.
He hasn't lost his touch. He was on it once again.
Yeah. I mean, the first time he jumped in the car, he said, oh, this setup is great. It's my setup from 2001. And I think he was flat all the way around. So, I mean, there's only one Alex Zanardi, right?
You got it, mate. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Now his fellow drivers and his family and friends welcome Alex Zanardi back into the pit lane. What an emotional day here on a Sunday in Eastern Germany as we prepare for the Champ Car's second visit to this racetrack. And I wonder what will go through the minds of the drivers when they take to their cars in just a few moments. This is as emotional an experience as I have ever felt at a racetrack anywhere in the world. Listen to this crowd.
I don't mind telling you, I am shaking myself here. Alex, there are many people. There are many tears, Alex. Many tears. I know in Toronto, last year you went to Chris Pook and said, Chris, I have an unfinished career. Please help me finish it in Germany. You do it today.
Well, Chris did it indeed. I want to thank Adam Schechter, which bear with me with all my requests and design all the bits. All the boys which did a superb job. But it's also an opportunity to thank the fans, very, very important. Without them, I wouldn't have had a career at all. And the doctor, Steve Olveit, Terry Trammell, and all the doctors down in Berlin at the Wim van Krankenhaus Hotel, because thanks to them, I have another life.
Alex, we expected you to go out and do warm-up speeds. You ran speeds above 190 miles an hour. You just can't get this out of your system.
It's amazing because I could remember some things about this place, but I didn't remember anything about the race. And to run with this car, it was just like switching the TV on, and everything it came back. I got chicken pot thinking about it, but I just remember when everybody was fighting for position in the first laps, and was starting from the back. So I was just going high, ignoring the fight, and then getting all of them down in the exit of the turn because I did carry a better speed. And when I got Max and I waved at him, and when I got Tony finally for the lead and I waved at him, so all the good stuff came back. The accident didn't. Maybe I should have had an accident to remember that, but next time.
Thank you, Alex. You have been such an inspiration to so many through your driving career. You continue to be a remarkable inspiration to so many people. Thank you, Alex.
I think if I could, I just want to wish all my drivers, the people that have been closer to me in this adventure, a lot of luck for today's race and for the future. And again, thanks to the entire community of Champ Car. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Can I also point out the Simple Green safety team are here. Everybody is here, led by Lon Bromley. That is Terry Trammell, orthopedic consultant for Champ Car. Lon Bromley, come on, Lon, get in here. Lon Bromley directed the Daniela will not talk, but the tears are in her eyes. But this is the finest medical and safety team in the world of motorsports. We can all be so proud today, Bob.
And there's living proof right there as CART CEO Chris Pook lends his congratulations. What a day, and it's going to be a long one for Alex Zanardi. I don't know if chicken pox in Italian and goosebumps in English are the same things, but that answer from Alex Zanardi told you all you need to know about the man. It's still coming back to him. That horrible weekend almost 2 years ago hopefully has now come full circle. And Alex Zanardi, one of the most popular drivers in the history of the Champ Cars, or perhaps of motor racing period, has come full circle here at Uritt Speedway. He had the opportunity to do this at other tracks, but he said, no, I choose to come back to the Euro Speedway Lausitz. There's an image we'll all remember for a long time, but now it's time to call the drivers to their race cars. There's a race to be run here in Germany. We'll be right back. Nestled over the Autobahn between Dresden and Berlin lies one of the world's most amazing racetracks, the 2-mile super speedway known as the Euro Speedway Lausitz. Scene of round 5 where the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford for 2003. Welcome to the German 500. On an absolutely beautiful day in Eastern Germany, we bid you welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Tommy Kendall. First of all, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers back in North America. The hair is still standing up on my arms, Tommy, after watching Alex Zanardi complete those 13 laps. What an amazing moment.
I'm glad I didn't have to talk during that segment because I don't think I could have. It got to the point when Alex was driving that nothing he did surprised me. He's just a remarkable driver, and so in a way I'm not the least bit surprised by what he did today, but it was a very poignant reminder to just how serious this business is and how special the guys that take part in it are, and I'm just speechless.
He is the Grand Marshal for today's German 500, is Alex Zanardi. He gives the command to fire engines, and when the field rolls off, they'll be led by another budding superstar in the Champ Cars by the name of Sébastien Bourdais. He broke into the series by winning pole position in the first 2 races of the year, but he was unable to translate those into success, dropping out of round 3 in Long Beach, California. Trying a bit too hard to grab pole last week in Brands Hatch, England, but he came through and celebrated a much anticipated first career victory. He's standing by now with Derek Daly in the pit lane.
Indeed, here is the man himself. You continue to surprise us as you have all season long, but you come to a super speedway, Sebastian, for the first time, and you put it on the pole. I mean, this looks almost easy for you.
I don't know if it was easy. Anyway, we can see that both of the New Manor cars were on the pace. We are 1 and 2. Probably got a very good engine yesterday. We changed it by night, so I just hope it's going to be as good as the other one. So it's no big deal. I think the aero package we have, we trimmed the car in the right way, and it looks like it's working very well. So I just hope to have a safe race and do the job as well as I can.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sebastian. Yesterday, he caused some frustration with his teammate because he was on the pole until Bourdais' final run. And when he saw the lap come up and knocked him off the pole, well, you can see the frustration by Bruno Junqueira, who just can't seem to wrap his arms around the speed he needs to beat his young French rookie.
All right, thank you very much, Derek. Bruno Junqueira has a lot going in his favor, though, this weekend. He starts from P2 on the grid and could take the championship lead. At the other end of the spectrum, Paul Tracy began the season with 3 straight wins, bringing him to the brink of a record. But when he went for that 4th straight win in Brands Hatch, the gearbox in his car let go, and Tracy was done. Now, because the teams are locked into a certain aerodynamic setup for Brands Hatch at this race, Paul Tracy has been slow in qualifying, but he has kept his sense of humor. Is it jet lag? Is it something in the water? The season started off so well for Paul Tracy, but since coming to England, he has no points in the race at Brands Hatch, and today he starts deep in the field, 16th. Let's meet him now with Calvin Fish.
Well, Bob, the side pod on Paul Tracy's car really tells the story. Paul, the aerodynamic configuration that the team have chosen for these 2 Euro events has really seemed to backfire on you guys here.
Yeah, it's put us at a bit of a disadvantage, but I've talked to a great German philosopher. His name is Thomas Kendelschlang, and he told me that champions are made of people who can endure adversity. So we've got to just suffer through this race and try to do the best we can.
Experience should come through for you today, Paul. Starting 16th, but 8 rookies in front of you, 200 miles an hour speed. These guys haven't seen these speeds before. Any concerns?
Well, you know, it's a lot of guys are running quick out there in practice, and we're just going to have to try to get ourselves towards the front, use my experience in the draft, use my experience of passing, and try to make it happen.
Okay, PT, good luck. Bob?
Well, Paul Tracy's not the only veteran who's had a few unpleasant surprises this week. The rookies have come forward. We have 3 of them in the top 5 starting positions and 1 on each of the first 5 rows of the grid. There are the top 5 rookies in today's race, with the exception of Sebastian Bourdais, all of them with their best starting positions of the year. This is going to be a very interesting race.
CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car World Series is sponsored by Bridgestone Tires. Advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by Ford. If you haven't looked at a Ford lately, look again.
Welcome back to the Eurospeedway Lausitz. I'm Bob Varsha with Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fisher in the pit lane. The cars are on track, and we are ready to go racing at the Champ Car German 500. We're just north of Dresden on the road to Berlin in the Brandenburg district, and this racetrack, Tommy Kendall, is absolutely spectacular.
It really is. It's quite the showplace, and you hear a lot about tri-ovals. This truly is a triangle. Turns 1, 2, and 3 all have 6 degrees of banking. The straightaway from 1 to 2 is the longest, so the speeds heading into that are a little bit higher. But all 3 corners, they should, if the cars are handling, should be able to go side by side.
It is a part of a massive complex with a variety of road courses, truly a multi-purpose circuit. Here is the starting lineup, powered, like the Champ Cars, by Ford. On the pole for the 3rd time in his 5-race career, the winner at Brands Hatch, Sebastian Bourdais. He'll start next to Bruno Junqueira of Brazil, both men driving for the team owned by Carl Haas and actor race driver Paul Newman. On row 2, Michel Jourdain Jr., driving for the Ray Hall David Letterman team, will start alongside Mario Haberfeld, his best starting position of the season. Now Junqueira on row 1 and Haberfeld on row 2 have a history, Tommy.
Yes, they do, and it goes back to the first race of the year in St. Petersburg, the 2nd lap. This is on board with Bruno Junqueira. The yellow and red car out the front of him is Haberfeld. Haberfeld ran him all the way over to the pit wall. Bruno stuffed it down the inside. Here's another shot of it outside. That blocking, it put the spotlight on blocking. It's been tough on road courses, but it can be lethal on ovals. Here's another incident later in the race. This race will be a very important test for Chris Neifel, the chief steward, in that regard.
Moving to row 3, rookie Darren Manning has his best grid position of 2003. So for the man next to him, Mario Dominguez also has his best start. On row 4, Oriol Servia suffered some rear wing damage in practice, but he's ready to go now. He starts next to Mexican rookie Rodolfo Levine, who had his best qualifying session. On row 5, Alex Tagliani, an emotional weekend for the man who was driving the car that hit Alex Zanardi back in 2001. He'll start next to French rookie Patrick Lamarier. Back on row 6, 96 Series champion Jimmy Vasser starts next to Roberto Moreno. Both of those men were in the race back in 2001. On row 7, rookie Alex Jung of Malaysia starts next to Portuguese Tiago Monteiro, a fellow first-year man driving for the great champion Emerson Fittipaldi. On row 8, Ryan Hunter-Reay of Boca Raton, Florida. The rookie starting next to the veteran Paul Tracy. The championship leader will have to find a way forward. On row 9, Patrick Carpentier, Tracy's teammate, is in the same boat as Tracy is. He'll start next to Swiss rookie Joel Camatias, who has lots of fans on hand this weekend. On row 10, Adrian Fernandez, the only owner driver in the series, driving one of 2 chassis, one of which was damaged in a heavy crash at Brands Hatch. The team has been hopping back and forth between the two ever since. A look at our Bridgestone keys to the race. We have a mandatory pit stop rule in place, meaning no car can go more than 28 laps before it must stop for fuel and 4 tires. That makes it a minimum 5-stop race. The early pit window will open on lap 14, but you can go no farther than lap 28 before you must stop. Each car carries 35 gallons of methanol fuel, and the cars make about 1.85 miles per gallon. Along the pit lane, they'll be looking closely at those fuel numbers as the race goes on. Let's go to Derek Daly.
But today again we will have what we call the Zanardi rule. It is a 2-stage pit speed limiter. The full length of the pit lane here will be 55 miles an hour until you come to this line right here, where it then changes to 85 miles an hour. You then run through turn 1 at 85 and then exit onto the back straight, and it's unlimited speed. The last time we were here, Zanardi had unlimited speed from this line on, and he crashed right over there across the grass.
Thank you, Derek. Those are memories now. We're ready to go racing once again at the Eurospeedway Lausitz with the flashing Frenchman Sébastien Bourdais on pole, flanked by his teammate Bruno Junqueira, then Michel Jourdain Jr. and Mario Haberfeld, 5 rookies in the first 5 rows. First visit to a super speedway for all of them, save Darren Manning, who drove at the Rockingham Oval in England last year.
And the airwaves are alight. A lot of instructions coming from the teams to the veterans saying watch out for all those rookies at the front of the pack.
J.D. Wilbur is the flag man. He'll watch them come off the turn row by row. He'll expect to see the entire field before he'll make the decision, go or no go, and we are going. Green is out.
You saw one of those rookies, Rodolfo Levine, in the Corona car, lagged way back.
And Junqueira immediately attacks his teammate. Bourdais and Junqueira side by side on the backstretch. Bumps coming up in the entrance to 2. Junqueira takes the lead. Looking back from Junqueira's car at Bourdais.
Saw Bourdais get down a little bit low in turn 3, actually touched the curbing, which you do not want to do in these cars at these speeds.
Jockeying for position here, that's Darren Manning to the right of your screen, going around the red and yellow car of Mario Haberfeld. Alex Tagliani, I believe, is in the blue car. More wheel to wheel as they flash down the backstretch, approaching 200 miles per hour. Here's a look at our weather conditions. 85-degree track temp.
Look at Paul Tracy on the move, already up on the gearbox of Rodolfo Levine.
Tracy started 16th. He is now 10th as they come around across the stripe. On board with Tracy. It's Rodolfo Levine in the 5 car, the Corona car from Walker Racing. Laps scheduled on a beautiful day here in eastern Germany. No chance of rain. There's the lead duo. Junqueira leading his first laps of 2003. He was a preseason favorite coming into the year, but he was immediately put into the shade by his new teammate, Sébastien Bourdais.
And look at the toe that Bourdais got sucking up to the back of Junqueira's gearbox, was able to slingshot, but not quite get clear. And here comes Bruno back on the outside.
Michel Jourdain running third, watching all this in front of him. With Mario Dominguez and Oriol Servia on board with Junqueira. Saw him take a gear there, pulling the gear lever back. Team's likely to be running 2 top gears here, I would think.
2, probably 3 top gears, separated by as little as 200 or 300 RPMs between gears. Effectively all different top gears for different situations, depending on how much toe they get, depending on how much the track slows down, and also maybe 1 gear to save fuel when you're in the draft.
Great fight between Dominguez, Servia, and Tagliani for 4th. Right now, Dominguez has it. Now, Mario Haberfeld, who started up on the outside of row 2, has been moving backward through the field. Calvin Fish has more on him.
It was a sensational performance yesterday by Mario in qualifying, Bob, but right now he is backing up through the field. Remember, in qualifying, he ran a very unique line, running around the inside of the racetrack, and maybe that doesn't work in traffic. I just spoke to the team. Eric Bachelat from Conquest said, no problem, it's just the traffic, but he raised his eyebrows. They didn't expect this at the beginning of the race.
Engineer Andy Bourne did a lot of work on this car. They lost an engine. They lost a lot of practice time on Saturday, the one and only day of practice, followed by qualifying in the afternoon. They're the Players Forsyth teammates. Paul Tracy leading Patrick Carpentier.
And you can see how quickly they're losing touch with the lead pack and the cars right behind the leaders. This is their worst fear, that they lose contact, because running by themselves, the higher downforce setting, higher downforce means higher drag as well. And you can see if they lose touch with these cars up ahead, they'll have a hard time. The gap will get quicker quickly.
Now Carpentier swings under to try to pass. Wouldn't they be better off going nose to tail?
They would be, but what this tells me is that Pat probably feels like he's being held up enough that maybe he'll try running in front and maybe see if in tandem they can go quicker with Pat in front.
White car of Patrick Lemarié from PK Racing with Scientific Atlanta sponsorship. Goes around Roberto Moreno for 12. A replay of the start from onboard Paul Tracy. That's Tiago Montero in the orange and blue car, and Paul is immediately on the move around the outside. Jimmy Vasser dropped. Lemarié passed. What a launch by Paul Tracy.
Well, you don't win 22 races without and be acknowledged as a master of the ovals without taking chances and making moves like that.
Here come the two blue and white teammates. Look back for Tracy's car. Derek Daly.
As you look at the rear wing end plates on these players' cars, we had a situation yesterday where they actually peeled back and broke. And this morning, we realized one also broke on Oriol Servia's car. So some of these cars, including Fernandez, the two players' cars, although you can't see it here, have a support wire between the two end fences. Now, the interesting thing is, on Servia's car, it was not the longer of the wings, it was the shorter wing. We don't want to see that later on, but incidentally, I think it is fair to point out it was not a Lola part that actually delaminated on Oriol Servia's car, but we do not want to see that as this race peels on, because at these speeds, Tommy, these wings, particularly road course wings, were not designed for this load.
No, that's a great point, Derek. They were not. The end plate, you see these blue pieces on the side on either end of the white wing, and you can see them fluttering on Paul Tracy's car. These are usually exposed to a load of about 185 miles an hour for maybe 2 or 3 seconds at the end of the longest straightaway on a road course. Here, it's 195 miles an hour for 2 hours.
I walked up and down the pit lane and looked closely at these cars. They look alike, but really everyone is distinctly different from the next. All of the little aerodynamic splitters and protuberances. Some of the teams trying to brace those rear wing end plates, some not. Look at that one on the left flapping away. Each team with a different approach to car setup. Now here's a look at what happened to Oriol Servia. There is his right rear wing end plate going away. Watch it again. Right in front of Tiago Montero. That took place in yesterday's morning practice. We also saw the cars porpoising over those bumps in turn 2.
Carpentier is now in front of Paul. So they're going to try this orientation to see if that helps them maintain contact with these guys any better.
And look at the group gathering up front. That's the red and white car, the Gigante car from Team Rahal. Michel Jourdain Jr. looking low. Bruno Junqueira won't let him by for second place. And now here comes the green and white car of Mario Dominguez, last year's Rookie of the Year, going around Jourdain for third.
And the draft is significant, but it's not enough to just pull up behind like we see in Fontana. And what happened there is when Bruno came across the front of Michel Jourdain's car, it cost some front downforce on the front of Michel, and he had to get out of the throttle and gave Mario Dominguez a run.
The pit window is about to open at lap 14. We're working lap number 12. We'll be back in a moment to the Eurospeedway Lausitz in Germany. Welcome back to the Eurospeedway Lausitz and the German 500 on the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Schedule for 2003, Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Derek Daly with you. We are working lap number 20 of 154, and there have been no pit stops to this point, but the window is open for a 5-stop strategy. You ride with Bruno Junqueira, the race leader.
You see the Pacific Air Secure Horizons. The horizon out the back is anything but secure. That is Bourdais. And you see Bourdais, actually, that's the most I've seen him drift up when he's behind Bruno. He got a pretty good toe. He's up close, but you saw his line. The nose of the car wanted to push the outside. He's three wide,
including the 2 Walker teammates. Darren Manning down low, Rodolfo Levine in the middle. Is that Alex Tagliani up high? Wow.
Manning has been sitting right behind his teammate Levin since the start of the race.
Let's take another look at the pass for the lead as Bruno Junqueira took over the point from Sébastien Bourdais. Right up to his gearbox and then swinging underneath.
That's a good example of the subtleties of oval racing that Bruno has learned over the years, become one of the more accomplished oval racers. He entered the corner a little bit high and then crossed back underneath, because directly behind the car in front, you lose downforce. He had a little bit on the outside and he crossed over to the inside perfectly to get by Bourdais.
Derek Daly has more.
Quick update on the Newman Haas team. John Tizanakis, who's better known as TZ. I asked him how many top gears they were running. They are running 2 in each car. Bob, you asked that question earlier on. I ran down to ask Neil Mickelwright if the rev limiter that I'm hearing at the end of the straight here, because I'm positioned at the end of the pit lane, I hear many, many cars on the rev limiter. I said to Neil Mickelwright, is Tracy on the rev limiter? He says, we ain't going quick enough to be on the rev limiter.
And that due to that high downforce and high drag aerodynamic package that the team locked in last weekend in Brands Hatch in England.
Well, he's obviously kidding, because you can change the gears. They might have a lower gear, but you would want to be as close to the rev limiter as you can. The rev limiter being the max revs before the engine's cut out by the electronic computer.
To prevent over-revving,
if you're into the rev limiter too hard, it can slow you down. But if you're not close enough to it, you're a little bit off the peak power of the engine. And Levin has gotten back around Manning and is right behind Tagliani.
Sweeping down through turn 1, a long string of cars. And the Walker teammates running very close together. Levine and Manning shown in 7th and 8th. Here's Calvin Fish.
Here with team manager for Walker Racing, Rob Edwards. You got 2 rookies out there experiencing. Rob Edwards, attention directed. I believe we have an incident in turn 2. Everyone setting up for pit stop, boys.
Debris and oil flags down in turn 2 at the far corner of the racetrack. And everyone, well, the leaders come on to the start-finish straightaway just 4 laps from the end of the pit window.
Now the pits are closed when the yellow comes out until everybody is packed up. That's a change from the road course, but on the ovals they make everyone pack up before they pit.
The top 8 cars right there on your screen. Here comes the rest of the field. Lemarié, Tracy and Carpentier, Alex Young. There's Roberto Moreno heading for the pit lane. First car to pit. This is on lap 25.
I'm pretty sure the pits are closed now. So I'm not sure what this is going to mean to...
see if he goes straight through.
He is. He's continuing all the way through. That would have given him a tremendous advantage had they let him do that. He would have ended up, after everybody cycled through, he would have been leading the race.
Now he's in the 85-mile-an-hour zone of the pit lane speed limit. So go all the way around through turn 1, inside turn 1, it must be said, separated by a grassy strip. And then he goes back up onto the back straightaway. There is the safety car being driven by Gail Truist this weekend. Patty Mayer sitting next to her, signaling the cars by hand out the passenger side window. Gail and Patty, very experienced, handling the safety car. In fact, Gail has a professional SECA rally coming up in about a month and a half. And here comes the field for the first round of stops. Get a good look at the infield here and the different road courses that make this such an incredible racing complex. Calvin Fish, Derek Daly are in the pit lane. Here comes the field. Derek is in the Newman Haas pits. Calvin Fish is in the Urdes competition pits for Mario Dominguez, the 3rd place car. Take it away, boys.
as Mario Dominguez comes in right up the tail there of Sebastian Bourdais. We understand there's going to be no changes here. Mario Dominguez really on a roll right now. 5th at Long Beach, podium at Brands Hatch, looking for another one here today. Let's go down to Double D at the Newman Haas pits.
Calvin, the 2 leaders are in. Bourdais' car is loose when he's running in the lead. They are taking some front wing out of that car. Bourdais leaves exactly the same time, and it's a drag race between himself and Junqueira.
Look at the shuffle, 3 and 4 wide. Lamarier in the white car, left front damage. He's going to have to pull off. I didn't see. He must have collided with someone when he exited his pit box. Calvin, did you see it?
Saw it briefly out of the corner of my eye, Bob. There were 3 cars there, got sandwiched together. Patrick looked like he was an innocent bystander there. He was in the outside lane and got shoved into the pit wall. Scary moment, about 2 feet off the ground. He'll try and make his way back to the pit lane.
You could see that white telltale stripe around the right front corner of the car, the right front wheel scuffed up. There you see it as he talks to the Simple Green safety crew members. Lamarier, a 34-year-old rookie, recently moved his home from Paris in France to Andorra, down in the Pyrenees. A beautiful spot. Let's take another look, see if we can see what happened to him.
Here comes Lamarier, the white car at the top of your frame. Now he's in the outside lane.
Oh, 3 cars about looked like Michel Jourdain
knocked
Jr.
Levin into Lamarier. When Jourdain came out, he's supposed to go into the middle lane, but what he did is he made a beeline for the outside lane.
There it is, top of your screen.
And there were 2 cars next to him. There are new pit rules that assign blame in that situation. It'd be interesting to hear if the stewards decide that that was Jourdain's fault and deserves action.
Derek Daly.
Patrick is here. He is disgusted. I know. What did you see from your end?
Well, you mean in the pit? I think people are not smart enough to watch in the mirror, so that's happened sometimes. It's a shame because we had a good car today, but you know, we're making progress, so that's the main thing.
They certainly did. This weekend, by far the best weekend. Doesn't he sound like Jacques Villeneuve? Calvin?
Well, I think the reason that Jourdain actually came out with those 2 guys, there was a lengthy start for the Rahal team. We know they're the best in the business, but a major front wing change. Jourdain has been suffering major understeer down in turn 1. They made a big change. Meanwhile, Rodolfo Levin being in, did some change to the left front corner. The car gets really sideways as he leaves the pit box, but he's back underway.
That was either for a check or he suffered some damage, but he exits the pit lane. He'll take up his position at the back of the grid.
Levin radioed in and told his crew that they did not get the left front wheel on correctly, and we had a quick shot of one of the Gigante crew members. Looked like he was holding a wheel nut that could have been the wheel nut off Levin's car that was not fastened correctly.
And there is Jourdain, who got so close to his first career victory after 7 full seasons in the sport. 2 races ago in the streets of Long Beach, California. He was leading the race handily, pulled in for his final stop. His award-winning pit crew got him serviced in time. Then he tried to put the car in gear, and the gearbox failed him. With just a handful of laps to go in the race, Paul Tracy went on to win. Now we're going to take a look behind the scenes at the Ford Blue Box. Here's Calvin Fish.
Following Alex Zanardi's horrific crash here at the Euro Speedway 2 years ago, Cardiff implemented some changes to the monocoque design and structure. Now, all of the race cars have incorporated into them one of these Ford impact recorders, and it's located just underneath the driver's legs. Following the crash that day, they estimated that the impact was somewhere between 40 and 50 Gs, obviously in a very vulnerable part of the race car. From 2002 onwards, all of the monocoques now have an anti-intrusion barrier between the driver's seat bulkhead moving forward to where the pedals are located inside the race car. Now, this intrusion barrier is not made of the carbon fiber that we see throughout the majority of the cockpit, but actually a Kevlar material, similar to what is found in a bulletproof vest. Now, the end result of all of this is if a driver should be in a similar situation today, they would be in a much safer environment. Well, we're down in Rodolfo Levin's pit. This is the left front wheel. This is where Michel Jourdain actually clipped him, but there was already a problem for this team because they didn't really get that wheel nut tightened up. Here you can see the damage to where the pins actually locate inside the rim there, and then a little bit of damage where the brake caliper would have been rubbing actually on the wheel itself. So we would have needed a pit stop. So in some ways, not too big a break for Rodolfo Levin, not going to hurt him too much. But the key is there any other damage to the car? The team gave it a good look over. Everything looks okay, but you never know.
We're back underway on lap number 28. Michel Jourdain Jr. leads, and Mario Dominguez goes around Sebastian Bourdais into second place.
And that's the second slight rookie mistake I've seen from Bourdais today. One was entering the pits. He left about a car length behind Junqueira before they got to the pit lane speed limit, and he had a slightly quicker stop than Jourdain, but didn't beat him out because of that gap he left. Here, Bruno snookered him on the restart, and Dominguez was able to get a run on Bourdais and slot into second. Small things that don't add up to a lot, but those are the things that win races, difference between first and third sometimes.
It's Oriol Servia in the orange car trying to move up on Bourdais. There goes Jourdain. Obviously, he and Levine, not to mention Patrick Lemarié, the losers on that pit shuffle. The big winner, Darren Manning, went from 8th to 5th. There's the running order at the top left of your screen.
I pointed out the slight mistakes by Bourdais. There's so much time left, and his car is so good, they shouldn't come into play. But what we've seen from Bourdais is when things go perfectly according to plan, like we saw at Brands Hatch, he just checks out, incredibly talented, got a great car underneath him. The other races, when things came off the tracks a little bit, his inexperience, he doesn't know how these races unfold. He made some mistakes because he thought the races were slipping away from him. It'll be important for Newman Haas to keep Sebastian calm down and clue him in on some of these slight mistakes he's making, so that by the end of the race, A, he hasn't taken himself out by being frustrated, and B, he can correct them.
Front group of 4 beginning to pull away. The blue and white car in 5th is Patrick Carpentier, who also had a good stop. His teammate Paul Tracy is 8th. Let's get more on Michel Jourdain's situation now with Calvin.
Well, we're down here going to catch up with Ray Lito, and Ray, there was a slight delay on the start. Looked like you were trying to get some front wing in that thing, and then you all came out together, and big incident there.
Yeah, Michel been complaining of some understeer, so we wanted to make sure we got a change in for him. Long race, so we're trying to make changes as we go. Yeah, and it was really crowded when we left. We called, the high line to him. The guys got together. I really didn't see it.
Okay, well, tight quarters out there in pit lane. Let's get down to Derek Daly.
Tommy Kendall, to follow up on your train of thought with Bourdais, Kenny Seabick just told him on the radio, because the car is still loose, to settle down, take it easy, and we'll continue to work on the car. So that car is loose, causing him to be just that little bit tentative.
All right, thanks, Derek. Michel Jourdain driving for Bobby Rahal and David Letterman. That team finished 1-2 in this race back in 2001. Kenny Breck, the man that Alex Zanardi was trying to race to the pit exit when he had his accident. Breck and Max Pappas finished 1-2 for Rahal Letterman. Now their man Michel Jourdain Jr. is running in 7th spot. 1 pit stop complete, at least 4 to go here in Germany. And Oriol Servia has gotten around Sebastian Bourdais for 3rd place. Is the Frenchman in trouble, or is he just on a very steep learning curve? CBS Sports coverage of the German 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back to the Euro Speedway Lausitz. We got a great lead battle going on. Bob Varsha and Tommy Kendall, glad to have you with us. Derek Daly and Calvin Fisher in the pit lane, and Mario Dominguez is leading his first laps since his first career victory last fall on the streets of Surfers Paradise, Australia. He's in a great battle with Sebastian Bourdais. There you see the rest of the top 10. It is Dominguez, Bourdais, Junqueira, and Servia up front. And watch as Sebastian Bourdais tries Dominguez again.
And this is what I was talking about with blocking. And Dominguez has been doing a really good job of moving. The key distinction on blocking is you are allowed to move as the leader as long as it's not in reaction to the car behind. He's doing a very good job of getting to where Bourdais wants to get to before Bourdais goes there. If he does it after Bourdais starts, that is blocking. Otherwise, it's just considered defensive. It's a very fine line, but so far he's been doing a pretty nice job.
Bourdais has already led laps in this race. That means he is now 5 for 5. His first 5 career starts, he has led 5 times. No other driver in the 25 years of championship auto racing teams has ever done that. And look at this wheel-to-wheel fight down in 1. What a duel. Junqueira and the orange and white Visteon-sponsored car from Patrick Racing, Oriol Servia, right there as well, watching these guys fight it out up front.
And what Mario's doing, he's saying to Sebastian, go ahead, take the outside on the entrance to all the corners. And then Mario's car is working well enough that he can enter the corner low and still hold it down tight on the exit. Bourdais able to get up on his right rear wheel, but he can't get all the way alongside entering the corners thus far. If he could probably carry the momentum all the way around the outside. Dominguez is protecting the inside ferociously, saying, hey, try to go around the outside, but Bourdais can't quite get all the way up there.
I like your expression, Tommy. Dominguez is doing a great job of putting himself wherever Bourdais needs to go.
As long as he gets there before, see, Bourdais has to let the car out a little bit before he pulls it to the inside. Dominguez's car is working well enough, he can hold it to the inside. If Dominguez would drift out and Bourdais could get his nose under him before Dominguez started to come, but Dominguez is always getting there first. Calvin Fish?
Well, Brian Moore is the youngest engineer in pit lane. He oversees Mario Dominguez. Brian, seems like that car can go anywhere on the racetrack today for Mario. Good setup today.
Well, we tried to work hard on it this morning because I think the car is very important to be able to go inside and outside in traffic. So, I mean, we managed to get it pretty close, I think. But Mario's doing a fantastic job. I mean, I'm so proud of him.
Talk about the confidence of Mario right now. 5th at Long Beach, podium last week. He has to be on a high.
Oh, he's on tremendous amount of confidence. I think he's just doing an absolutely fantastic job. He's so pumped up. It's unbelievable.
I think the team is pumped up as well, Bob. What do you think?
Oh, Sebastian Bourdais went down to the straightaway that's a part of the infield road course and then chose to go over the grass to get back on. He really didn't need to do that. Oh, my. This is at nearly 200 miles an hour, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd like to see that again. I'm not sure why Bourdais made the second move down into the pit entrance there. Maybe Dominguez made a move at him that I did not see. Or maybe, like in basketball, he was trying to draw the charge.
So the look.
This is through one.
It's Bourdais on the lead right now. Oh, I'm sorry, that was him on the right. He sees the grass coming up.
Yeah, that's what Bourdais got down underneath and then saw that piece of road ended.
There are several cones there. Watch the right side of your screen. He gets down here in this lane, sees those cones coming up, doesn't want to try getting up into the Dominguez part of the racetrack. Oops. Well, I guess it would have been tough for him to stay on that piece of pavement and then try to join later. Now we've got another pit window coming up, which means everyone will be stopping. We should point out Alex Tagliani's car left the race due to a mechanical problem a few laps ago. So Tagliani and the Johnson Controls car, the Rocket Sports team, are now out, joining Patrick Lemarié on the sidelines. And here comes the field headed for the pit crews.
Dominguez almost lost it on the pit end there, but built himself a little bit of a gap over Bourdais.
You hear the rough sound from that Ford Cosworth engine as the electronic speed limiter cuts in to keep the car at the 50-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit. Calvin Fish awaits Mario Dominguez.
Well, he's not a rookie any longer. Rookie of the year last year, but as a young man in a position he's never been before, leading a race outright. Certainly he won in Australia this last year, but this is a totally different kettle of fish. Routine stop. Everyone's happy with the car here, waiting for fuel. Let's go down the Newman Haas, boys.
Bourdais. They are concerned. Craig Hansen just told me, his engineer, they are concerned he's being a little bit too aggressive. They want to calm him down. What a great stop of the top three teams here.
Now, while this pit stop takes place, Michel Jourdain Jr. in the Rahal pits will be held for a 15-second penalty for a pit safety violation on that previous stop when he got into Rodolfo Levine and eventually Patrick Lemarié.
And that is going to be a stiff penalty because you saw he had pulled himself up back to the tail end of this lead pack. He had made up all the distance to the back of Oriol Servia. He'll have to serve that 15-second penalty. He'll be effectively last at the very end of the queue.
Let's get more on that penalty with Calvin.
Down here again with Ray Lito. Ray, are you happy with the call? Was it fair? What did you see?
Well, yeah, I understand. They explained to us that Michelle on the previous exit went into the high line, which is a violation. So we got a penalty. I think it's fair. I mean, a drive-through would have been really bad. So I think Chris's decision was fair. It puts us at the back of the line. We'll just work our way back to the front. We got 5 more stops.
How much does this hurt you today, Ray? Can you draft and get back to the front with this wing configuration?
Well, it's pretty tough. Everybody's pretty even, as you see out there. So it might take us the whole rest of the day.
Well, these teams are super strong on the super speedways, Bob. They've led nearly 800 laps over the last 8 events in Champ Car racing on these types of tracks.
That's right, and their last victory on a super speedway came last fall when Jimmy Vasser notched up the fastest 500-mile race victory in motorsports history at the California Speedway in Fontana, where the Champ Cars will go later this year to end their season. He averaged 197.995 miles an hour for 500 miles.
And that 15-second penalty actually only cost him 4 spots because the field was not bunched up under yellow. They had built up enough of a cushion that Jourdain has rejoined in 9th spot.
Here's a look at our race summary. 3 leaders, 3 lead changes, but that does not take into account mile after mile of wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side battling between Sebastian Bourdais, Bruno Junqueira, and Mario Dominguez. The average speed of the race thus far, just over 167 miles an hour. 1 caution flag and 2 cars out, those being Patrick Lemarié and Alex Tagliani. Now, car number 55, Mario Dominguez, is being given a warning about blocking. Let's take a look in replay.
This is the pit entrance. Now watch the lead car. This is Bourdais and Dominguez. You have a tough time seeing past Bourdais' car, but on the pit end, Dominguez really cooks it hot. Now they pull to the inside here, and watch up ahead. Watch the car at the front there. Under braking, gets the car crossed up, bringing it down to speed. Out there, almost in the grass, right there. But he built himself a little bit of a gap, about 3 car lengths on Bourdais. It's a game of inches. The line between hero and zero is fine. Had he lost it there, he would not have been able to believe it. But if you just take it easy, the guy will be all over you and maybe leapfrog you when you're stationary.
Oriol Servia closing up on Bruno Junqueira for 3rd. Good battles going on further back. Picking up the leaders, about to come up on slower traffic.
Be interesting to see that when you catch traffic like this, that creates opportunities generally for the 2nd place car. But it'll be interesting to see how Bourdais responds to his team's request for him to settle down and not be quite so aggressive.
Let's go to Derek Daly.
Continuing that train of thought, the engineers told Sebastian Bourdais that oval track racing is the school of patience, and they believe they would prefer to see him calm down a little bit. They think as a rookie, he's just beginning to step out into what we might call the Mario Andretti aggressive line.
Well, it was the oval track meister of Champ Car history, Rick Mears, who once said, never try to take more than what the car will give you on a super speedway.
Especially early in the race. I can't tell you how many races I saw Rick Mears go backwards when the car was not up to it and come back and be right there at the end. I have not seen a lot of patience thus far this season from Sebastian Bourdais.
All the cars on the same Bridgestone Potenza Racing radials, all using the same Ford Cosworth 2.65-liter turbocharged engines, making something over 700 horsepower with reduced turbo boost pressure for this super speedway race. Dominguez and Bourdais evenly matched drivers.
Barbier, the Bridgestone project supervisor. Joe, you come to the first oval track race of the season. It is a super speedway, a gorgeous day. Is it an interesting challenge for your engineers to change from road courses and street courses to come with these type of speeds?
Certainly, no different than the engineers of the cars. You know, we're on a road course, that takes 1 type of tire. You come to a super speedway, they have to make basically 3 different changes. They have to change the construction to hold up against these high loads that they get on the right, especially on the right side in its corners. They have to change the compound to put up with the excessive heat that they get because of those loads. And thirdly, an ever so slightly change to the right rear tire. It's just a little bigger than the left to help these drivers make those left-hand turns.
I find it exactly the same on my SUV at home.
That's a good idea for everybody, I guess.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, that's Derek and Joe Barbieri. Thank you, gentlemen. We watch this titanic battle continue up front. Mario Dominguez on the right, Sebastian Bourdais on the left. And you saw what it was like on the front straightaway as Derek and Joe were speaking. Watch this. That's about a 2.1-mile lap.
And Dominguez, like I said, he's getting there before Bourdais moves, with one exception. I saw a couple laps ago when they got to traffic, Dominguez actually did the dreaded block. Bourdais popped out and Dominguez chopped across in front of him. The only thing on all these other laps that I see that's a little bit marginal is when you take the inside like that, you really need to stay to the inside. What happens is as soon as Sebastian goes back to the outside, he's drifting slightly back to the middle of the road. It's not dramatic. See, Dominguez is moving before Bourdais does, which is exactly what he needs to do.
Dominguez finished third in the race you saw from Brands Hatch Circuit in England yesterday here on CBS, behind Sebastian Bourdais and Bruno Junqueira. And the point, I believe it was Derek Daly made at that time, this Erdes competition team has really come of age very, very quickly. And Mario Dominguez, last year's CART Jim Truman Rookie of the Year, is driving very aggressively and very well. Bourdais closes right up on his rear wing, then tries the high side, can't get it, looks for the long run off the turn, and Dominguez takes him right down to the pit wall.
Now that was close as far as whether or not Bourdais moved first on Dominguez. And this is where Chris Neifel really has a tough call to make. He's already warned Dominguez. The next step is a black flag to the leader, which is hard to do.
Chris Neifel is the CART chief steward.
Crack down on it.
Now this is Paul Tracy. The first 3 races of the year, this guy absolutely dominated. Well, there was one lucky win at Long Beach, but we told you about the problems he had at Brands Hatch when the gearbox let go. He was locked into an aerodynamic setup that they could not change sufficiently to allow him to be competitive here on the super speedway. And now he has been lapped by the leader, Mario Dominguez. Jimmy Vasser in 9th place is the last unlapped car. Take a look at the fastest laps of the race thus far. Sebastian Bourdais dominating that stat, all up over 197 miles an hour in average speed.
And those are the laps whenever he gets separated from Dominguez. Those are the laps by using Dominguez's toe. He's pulled himself back up on Dominguez's bumper. And this is the test for Paul Tracy. In the pre-show, he said, we're just going to do what we can, do our best, and try to get out of here with some points. And that's the Tony Saccali. He actually referenced myself in terms of giving him that wisdom. Tony Saccali and I both were kind of sharing our thoughts on winning championships. But what Paul does, this is the test. Now the proof's in the pudding. He's got a 10th place car. Can he settle in and just accept that? It looks like it so far.
We're at the halfway point of this race. Calvin Fish.
We're down here at Mario Dominguez pit and catching up with Brian Maher once again. Brian, we understand that Mario has been given a warning about the movement of the car on the racetrack. Has he had any discussion with you about his strategy now and how much he can move?
No, all he has to say on the radio is the car's good. I mean, it's just a race. It's just racing. I mean, we're not going to give up the position. That's as simple as that.
So as far as you're concerned, and Mario behind the wheel, you're just going to go racing as you have all day.
Yep. Just let him go. He got the confidence. He got the car. Let's go racing.
Well, they're confident. They're smiling. Let's see what happens, boys.
That's right. It says driver at the top of his contract. So that's what he's doing right now. Behind this battle, you saw Roberto Moreno in a car almost identical to Dominguez. He is, in fact, his teammate at Erdes competition. Go around Paul Tracy. They are a lap down, but that was for position. Moreno is now 10th. Tracy 11th. So at this point, Paul Tracy will lose the lead in the championship. And the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Sebastian Bourdais in second. His victory in the London Champ Car Trophy at Brands Hatch launched him from 16th to 6th in the championship points table.
Mario Dominguez is definitely doing his job. He is driven perfectly. He's moving, like I said, where Bourdais wants to go. Now the focus is going to shift to the pit crews. They're going to come in virtually unseparated. Newman Haas is going to have a chance to try to. Now we're being told that Mario Dominguez is going to be held for 5 seconds for blocking during this pit stop.
Derek Daly has more.
Well, I asked Kenny Seawick from the Newman Haas team, who's running Sebastian Bourdais' car, are you happy with Dominguez's aggressive driving? He said, I have no problem with it. We just got to get around him.
Pit stops begin again. Down to the 50-mile-an-hour limit goes Mario Dominguez. We'll see about that 5-second penalty. Bourdais comes in right behind him. Let's see if he comes out ahead. Well, after 200 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour seems agonizingly slow. Also in the pit lane behind them, Oriol Servia and Bruno Junqueira, as you might expect. Dominguez will reach his pit stall first. Calvin Fish.
Mario Dominguez hits his marks perfectly, and now we see the car chief steward. It's going to be a 5-second stop. There you see John Anderson advising the other car official. Mario will wait for the fuel. The engine has gone dead, actually. They're going to have to refire it. So there's some confusion here right now. They've got to refire the engine. Been given the go-ahead. Now they're still keeping him here. So this is really painful. A lot of the field is now streaming out. Michel Jourdain, Carpentier. Can't get fire in the engine. And now they're keeping him 5. So at the moment he was ready to go, they're going to wait 5 seconds. That was painful.
Yeah, they weren't going to let him sit there with the engine off for 5 seconds. He had to be ready to go before they would hold him. Oh, close moment there as one of the players' cars head for its pit stall just as Bruno Junqueira was coming out, I believe. There's Dominguez.
I have really mixed feelings about that. I've been one of the guys who's been the most vocal about cracking down on the blocking. I thought that Mario was doing an exceptional job of not crossing the line from defensive to blocking. So I know that's going to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, but the key is whether you're moving before the guy behind you moves or if you're moving in reaction to. And I didn't see every lap, and it'd be interesting to see which pictures Chris Neifel was making his decision on. And look at this. I think that is Bourdais
putting him down a lap?
Or is that Moreno?
Hard to tell from this distance, but Bourdais is definitely the leader over Oriol Servia and Bruno Junqueira. Let's get more on the Newman Haas team situation with Derek Daly.
Again, Tommy, there was nobody here in Sebastian Bourdais' team that were concerned about the way Dominguez was driving. Yellow for debris in turn 2, I believe. Now, Junqueira either had a lengthy pit stop or Servia had a dynamite stop because Oriol Servia passed Junqueira on the exit of the pits during that last round of pit stops.
Now there's a look at race control. The man gesturing in the middle of your screen, that's Bo Barfield, one of the 3 kart stewards. Also up there will be Chief Steward Chris Neifel. Tony Kester also in on those decisions.
And that was Roberto Moreno that was going a lap down to Bourdais. So Dominguez got back and he did not lose a lap. This yellow will effectively bunch the field up because of that debris. So the cost of that penalty was slipping from 1st to 4th.
That looks like a piece of the onboard jacks that the cars carry. I know Jimmy Vasser earlier in the weekend had trouble with a loose jack piston. Let's get more from the pit lane.
Here with Tom Brown, who oversees the engineering force at Herdez. Tom, that was painful to watch. What did John Anderson tell you about keeping the 5 seconds after the car was fired?
Mario was warned for blocking earlier on, and we accepted that. We didn't hear a warning this time, and unfortunately, the first time us or the crew knew about it was when we were being held up for 5 seconds. So without any warning, I was just trying to find out what the reason was.
That's got to be very frustrating that we kind of knew upstairs, but that hadn't been relayed to you guys and prepare Mario for that start.
Yes,
very succinct, but I think it hits the nail on the head, boys.
I would say so. Thank you, Calvin. We'll try to find out where that debris came from. Still under yellow, second yellow flag of the day. We're past the halfway mark here at the German 500. A crowd close to 70,000 on hand, according to the racetrack. We'll be back in just a moment to Germany. CBS Sports coverage of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford continues Sunday, June 15th with live flag-to-flag coverage of the Grand Prix of Monterey from California. Looking out the visor of Paul Tracy's helmet. That's the tip of his nose to the left of your screen. What a great view. Here are the the standings as the cars stand right now. If the race were to end right now, Bruno Junqueira would take the lead over Paul Tracy by 3 points toward the Vanderbilt Cup, the huge silver chalice symbolic of the championship in the Champ Car Series. Well, what must be going through the mind of Paul Tracy right now, watching his championship lead slip away after winning the first 3 races of the year in succession. The thrill from West Hill, a suburb of Toronto, Canada, where Paul Tracy burst on the scene as a very young driver.
This is eye level to Paul Tracy, so the fact that you see a lot of his steering wheel, that's also what he's seeing. He prides himself on sitting as low as he can to keep his head out of the wind flow, keep the center of gravity as low as possible. But he is not happy. He is lighting up the radio to his team right now.
Whoa, Bruno Junqueira to the outside of Moreno. Now, the official explanation for that penalty to Mario Dominguez was because he was weaving, allegedly, to try to keep Sebastian Bourdais behind him.
The accepted interpretation of that rule is you're not allowed to react to the car behind you. Alter your line to keep the guy behind you. I guess if you take the strictest interpretation, altering your line to keep you behind you, even if you move first, that's not the way that most guys interpret it. The thing with most of the guys, like if you talk to Paul Tracy and those guys, what they want to see cracked down on is the reactive move, not the preemptive move.
Junqueira goes underneath Moreno and moves by.
Having said that, even though I don't totally agree with their call, it did not hurt Dominguez that badly. It cost him some track position. If his car is as good as it looks like it was, he'll have a chance to move back forward. I would like to applaud the stewards, because until you show a willingness to crack down on it, you will not get anyone's attention. They'll just laugh at you. The driver will say, ha, he doesn't have the guts to pull the trigger. So going forward, that will be a pivotal move in terms of policing this in the future.
You tell the engine note in Bruno Junqueira's car hardly changing at all. He is the one and only driver in the series thus far who has finished every lap to this point in the season. The other one at Brands Hatch was Paul Tracy, but his gearbox let go and he did not finish. So Junqueira has been perfect thus far in laps completed. CBS Sports coverage of the German 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back to the Euro Speedway Lausitz, where the race continues to go down at a frantic pace. Michel Jourdain Jr. just turned a lap at 37.004 seconds, 4,000th of a second slower than the time Sebastian Bourdais notched up to take pole for this race in qualifying. And we've got pit stops coming up. Fourth stop for the Bourdais gets sideways. Dominguez had to go off to avoid Bourdais, who got sideways trying to get it down to 50 miles an hour. That's Jourdain right behind Dominguez as they head for the pit lane. That was close.
Okay.
Behind them, Oriol Servia and Bruno Junqueira. Darren Manning, the last car in your picture. To Calvin Fish.
Well, this is going to be tight. We again expect no changes on the car. They said the car's been perfect all day. They said Mario was mad. We had to calm him down. We expect a clean pit stop. Let's go down to Doubleday. Derek Daly.
Junqueira got in trouble towards the end of that session. They believe it was tires. Bourdais came in nice and calmly behind him. Oh, Jourdain beats everybody out. Where Jourdain is in the lead.
That he is, the red and white car, the Gigante car from Rahal Letterman Racing. Michel Jourdain Jr. into the lead as they get up into the 85-mile-an-hour speed zone on their way back onto the track. Bourdais in second, Dominguez in third.
They're on cold tires now after this pit stop.
Great stop for the Craftsman Pit Crew Challenge winners the last 2 years from Rahal Letterman. These are green flag stops. So the track is hot.
Now, what's notable about this, Patrick Carpentier and Jimmy Vasser, who are leading at the moment because they were able to extend their pit window, pitting into the last yellow. They are more than a lap ahead. They are a lap ahead of Jourdain, Bourdais, and Dominguez right now. Until they stop, they'll give all that back and then some. If we get a yellow between now and when they have to pit in 3 laps, those guys will trap everybody a lap down and be able to make their stop. Huge advantage if we get a yellow now.
Let's take another look at Dominguez coming in and out. Watch Bourdais at the front and look for the cone and the dotted line right there. And now at the end of the pit stop, see who moves first. There's Dominguez. There's Jourdain. Dominguez actually gets away first, but Jourdain gets the Potenza spinning sooner. Here comes Bourdais. To bump Dominguez back to third on the way out. On board with Jimmy Vasser from American Spirit Team Johansson. Owned in part by Le Mans veteran and former Champ Car Rookie of the Year, Stefan Johansson. Calvin Fish.
Well, on that last round of pit stops, Bob, we saw a great start by the Herdez team, but as Mario left the pit box, you may have seen it on camera, the car bobbled just a little bit. He almost stalled the engine, managed to keep it running, but that electric start by the Hergante team, they're the best in the business right now. They won that pit stop competition the last 2 years. This is Jimmy Vasser's team, essentially, from last year, transferred over to the number 9 machine, and they made it work for them again.
That's Patrick Carpentier just behind the ever-smiling Canadian from Quebec. 10 lead changes among 5 drivers thus far. Now Vasser and Carpentier head for the pit lane as Bourdais and Jourdain sweep onto the front straight.
They are still leading. You saw as they pulled in, Bourdais unlapped himself, and he will be racing back around. He will be probably close to the better part of a lap ahead of these two when they rejoin the fight.
You're on board with Carpentier. There goes Vasser heading for his pits. Crew goes to work. Stalled it. Looked like the car was going up and down on the jacks there as Bourdais and Jourdain come through to assume first and second place. Vasser back underway. It was not an elegant pit stop. 96 Series champion, teammates at what was then Target Chip Ganassi Racing with Alex Zanardi, before Zanardi went on to claim the next 2 championships and gave a lot of credit to Jimmy Vasser for helping him find his feet among champ cars.
Michel Jourdain has done the same thing. Learned a lot from his time as Jimmy's teammate last year. What does Jimmy get for it? He's had a horrible year thus far.
Here's a look at the Team Rahal success on super speedways. We talked about Fontana last fall, where Jimmy Vasser averaged nearly 198 miles an hour in the fastest 500-mile race in history. Here at the Eurospeedway Lausitz in Germany in 2001, teammates Kenny Breck and Max Pappas with Team Rahal Letterman finished first and second. Rahal drivers have led 796 laps in the last 8 super speedway races, far more than any other team. And I'm sure late night host David Letterman is looking in again this weekend. Down the long back stretch. Sebastian Bourdais' win in the London Champ Car Trophy, seen yesterday here on CBS. His 4th start, but that's not the quickest a rookie has ever won his first race. Juan Montoya, now Juan Pablo Montoya of Colombia, racing in Formula One with the Williams team, won in his 3rd Champ Car start back in 1999, taking over from Alex Zanardi in that team. Here's a look at the point standings among the rookies gunning for the Kart's Jim Truman Rookie of the Year award. Sebastian Bourdais, with his win in Brands Hatch, passed then leader Mario Haberfeld to lead by 8 points coming into this weekend. Darren Manning of England in third. You noticed also that Scott Dixon won in his third start.
And that was the quickest someone had won since then. We don't want to slight the quickest rookie ever, which was Nigel Mansell, who won in his very first start after already being the Formula One world champion. But that is the quickest anyone has done it since those two did it on their third.
Just hard to imagine a Formula One world champion coming into a series the next year as a rookie. It was 1993, the only man to win back-to-back Formula One World Driving Championships and the Kart Champ Car title. Nigel Mansell visited the Champ Cars at the season opener in St. Petersburg, Florida this year. His son is going to go to college this year in the United States. Rumor has it that Nigel sidled up to his old team manager, Jim McGee, and said, "What do you think, Jim? You think I can run with these kids in a Champ Car again?" You could have passed the hat in the grandstand, taken up a collection, and put a car out there for old Nige. Letterman's lads sandwiched between Sebastian Bourdais and Mario Dominguez. And there's the battle between Oriol Servia and Bruno Junqueira for fourth. Derek Daly has more.
Peter Gibbons is the technical director for the Newman Haas team. I just asked him, Bruno went like gangbusters until about 4 laps before that last pit stop. What is wrong? He said he is just not quick enough in a straight line. He is flat all the way around, but he's just not fast enough down the long straights.
Heard the engine note change just slightly in that corner. Let's listen. How much of that is lifting, Tommy, and how much of that is just the car unbinding itself coming off the corner?
That there is just the load, the side load. He is dead flat. When he's in traffic, you can hear him breathe in the throttle, and the note will change much more suddenly. But when he's in clean air, obviously, he's able to keep it flat all the way around. Be interesting now, this battle, they're not, the second place Jourdain and third place Dominguez are not close enough to Bourdais to make it an issue yet. But now that they have penalized someone for blocking, with a different interpretation than we've seen before, that is the new precedent. If these guys start challenging Bourdais, you're not even allowed to weave, based on how they are interpreting the rule here, you're not even allowed to weave, even if you do it first.
I would imagine that advice has gone out to the drivers from their teams after watching what happened to Mario Dominguez. There are your top three runners, nose to tail, here at the Euro Speedway Lausitz with 122 laps complete. We'll be back in a moment. Back to the Euro Speedway Lausitz. Bob Varshan, Tommy Kendall, joined by a very special guest, Alex Zanardi.
Thank you. Who
came back to the Euro Speedway and using a hand-controlled race car finished the 13 laps he missed out on in 2001. How did it feel, Alex?
Oh, just fantastic. The most unexpected feeling was when a lot of the memories from the race came back, and it was just turning the TV on and watching the movie of the race. It was amazing. I still have chicken butt thinking about it.
You shared a moment with your wife Daniela at the end of the run. Did she say anything to you?
She just said to me, "Do you know what that checker flag means?" I said, "What does it mean?" I said, "That's it. That's it."
Well, it was a spectacular moment. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you could see the crowd waving at you as you went by lap after lap. It must have been quite a thrill.
Yeah, it was great.
Now, on when you ran your practice laps, I was standing with Jimmy and Michelle and Oriol, and Jimmy says, if you guys think he's going to go out there and cool it at all, he says, you guys are wrong. And how many laps until you were flat out?
About 4.
About 4.
That was surprising for me, too, anyway.
I have to tell you, Derek Daly was just shaking all day during the practice. He just kept saying, I just don't understand this. I just don't understand this. I said, Derek, you used to do this. He says, I know, but I guess I've just gotten old. He was shaking. He was mortified.
Well, it was a big surprise also for me. That's why I wanted to practice a little bit. just because I thought 13 laps were not really a lot, but certainly not enough for me to put together something more than a parade, you know, and so I wanted to go a little fast, and that's why I wanted to practice. But if I knew it would have come up back so fast, I wouldn't have practiced at all.
And the racer's mindset takes over. You probably were focused more on actually just getting going rather than the significance of it all.
Let's get back down to the racetrack. Excuse me, Alex. Final round of pit stops. Sebastian Bourdais brings Mario Dominguez, Michel Jourdain, Oriol Servia, and Bruno Junqueira in behind him. And this will be for the race lead when they come back on track. Calvin Fish will be up first.
Well, Mario Dominguez is reporting that the car is still perfect. They haven't made one adjustment all day long. We expect Michel Jourdain maybe a tire pressure change. He's still got a little bit of understeer, and they don't want to waste time on the front wings. They may do it with tire pressure only. Mario Dominguez comes in, running second. Jourdain just ahead of him. Remember, the Gante boys beat him out on the last stop. Everything looked routine. This should be a short fill, and they're done. A good stop for Hermes. Jourdain goes. Let's go down to Derek Daly.
Jourdain again is going to beat him out. Yes, Jourdain beats him out.
Jourdain, Dominguez, and Bourdais as they come back out. They'll bring it up to speed. Working lap number 138 of 154. There'll be 16 laps to go next time under the flag stand. Alex, as you watch this race unfold, I know there was a plan for a while that you might pace the field at the start of the race in your champ car, but then they decided, no, he might not come in when we wave the green flag. What's it like to watch the race?
Well, I can tell you that these guys are not doing each other any favor. I mean, they're racing really hard, almost as they would be on a road course. But I guess, you know, the fact that they have a lot of downforce in the car, not simply a lot of drag as it was artificially done in the past, really allows them to put together some great racing.
Sebastian Bourdais looking at Mario Dominguez. The yellow and red car up ahead is Mario Haberfeld. It's not for position. Michel Jourdain in the red and white Gigante car is the race leader. Then the green Erdez car of Mario Dominguez. That battle goes on. We'll find out who will be leading the race when this man, Patrick Carpentier, pits. Once again, he and Jimmy Vasser are going a couple of laps farther than everyone else. So for the moment, they are the figurative leaders of this race. Oh, Jourdain got squirrely there underneath Mario Haberfeld. Jourdain looks under him again. This time goes by. Oh, Dominguez, perhaps in the draft of Haberfeld's car, moves up the racetrack, has to get off the throttle, and Bourdais shoots through. Now Dominguez goes by Haberfeld. Alex Zanardi is going to have to leave us. We want to thank him very much for joining us on this very big day in his life. It's been our privilege to share it with him. And as you might imagine, he is a man very much in demand this weekend. One more lap till Patrick Carpentier and Jimmy Vasser pits, and then this battle will be for the race lead with a dozen laps to go. This is the way it's been for the last 100 laps or so.
And that might be it. Bourdais gets down underneath Jourdain.
Now Dominguez takes a look.
Dominguez is coming now.
Dominguez isn't coming. Dominguez has come. Jourdain tries to return the favor. He moves up the track into the gray area where the grip isn't quite as good. That's
That's what happens when the dirty air coming out from underneath Dominguez's car goes across the front wings. Jourdain has been fighting a push, and when those front wings are compromised in their effectiveness, when they don't have smooth, clear air going over him, he was not able to hold the front of the car tight to the line that he wanted to. Look at Dominguez coming on Bourdais.
Carpentier and Vasseur are pitting and coming back out. These men now assume the top 3 positions in the race. Lap after lap, Sebastian Bourdais hounded Mario Dominguez earlier in the race, but could not get by until the Mexican driver was warned for blocking and then penalized for it. Now it is Bourdais' turn to try to keep the Mexican driver behind him.
Right behind you. L10, L10.
10 to go in the race. The crew counting down the laps.
On your outside, on your outside. Behind you again.
Now protecting the inside, while okay in my estimation, was exactly what got Mario Dominguez in trouble with the officials. As long as he moves before Dominguez, that's always been the rule as I've interpreted it.
Behind you, on your outside, outside.
The idea of coming to Europe was to bring American-style, big horsepower, open-wheel champ car racing to Europe, and they could not have put on a better show than they have here today. 9 laps to go. Calvin Fish.
Well, just as you guys were discussing, the Herdez crew are pointing at the monitors with the car officials and saying, look, guys, he's doing exactly the same thing. What are you going to do? So some politics playing out as we come down to the checkered flag.
We'll take you all the way to the checkered flag. 8 laps remaining. Bourdais, Dominguez, Jourdain. Bourdais' father is preparing to run the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the French Sports Car Classic, coming up in June. Michel Jourdain's father, Michel Sr., and his uncle Bernard were both sports car and champ car drivers in their own right. Tremendous amount of second-generation racing talent in the sport right now. Dominguez to the left and the right.
Outside, 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 outside.
Bourdais has clinched the championship bonus point for most laps led in this race. That breaks a tie in the championship at this point between he and Patrick Carpentier. Bourdais takes over sole possession of 5th.
One thing that Bourdais did a great job of before is, even though he wasn't up next to Dominguez, he was weaving a lot more behind him, and Dominguez was getting where he wanted to go before him, but Bourdais just would swing back to the outside, was making it look much more dramatic, the racing equivalent of trying to draw the charge, and it did that. Dominguez is not doing nearly as much movement behind Bourdais.
6 laps to go.
On your outside, again on your outside. Closing again, coming at you again. Outside.
He's up next to him.
Outside.
But he's got the longer arc.
Outside. Outside. Still outside. Still outside.
Oh, they couldn't get closer.
Still outside.
L5, Sebastian, L5.
On your outside again, on your outside. Outside. Outside.
5 laps to go. 10 miles remaining in the race.
Right behind you. On your outside. 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 Still there. Still there. Still there. Still there. Still there. Clear. Clear.
L4, L4.
Outside.
every lap looks like a replay of the lap before.
Outside.
This is the closest Dominguez has been.
3 laps to go. That's Dominguez's team on the left. They've been encouraging him. We can do this. We can do this. And they've also been pleading with CART to give Bourdais a lesson. Here's Bourdais' team.
Was a reaction. That was a, no matter how you slice it, that was a block.
Behind you on the outside.
High defensive line there too. Outside. Great stuff. White flag this time by.
White flag, Sebastian, bring it home.
Outside.
And Dominguez is staying on the outside.
He has 2 more shots at it in the corners. Look at Jourdain pulling up. He'll have to decide which guy to go with. Where do I put myself?
Right there on your outside. Right behind you.
Nose to tail now, all 3 cars. Bourdais with the lead off the corner. Dominguez will try to charge. Jourdain looking for daylight. He will not find it. Sebastian Bourdais wins the German 500 by the merest of margins over Mario Dominguez and Michel Jourdain Jr. What a finish. What a race. Second consecutive victory for Sebastian Bourdais. We'll take a break to hear from the key players in a great racing drama here in Germany. Stay with us. What a day for Sebastian Bourdais. Moments ago, here he was celebrating his victory with the donuts invented by the guest of honor here, Alex Zanardi. Let's hear from him now with Derek.
Sebastian, I can see your hands shaking. I can see the smile on your face. That race was as good as it gets.
Yeah, it was just simply unbelievable. We had a very little lack of top speed. The car was just great, but not quick enough in the straight lines, and I had to manage Mario, who was probably the quickest in the straight lines. It was very tough. I was not able to overtake him, but in the traffic he did a small mistake and I was able to overtake.
Sebastian, you're shaking. Is it that nerve-wracking running that closely?
No, it's just great. I mean, it was a super feeling, and thanks to my Lily car, which was the best today, thanks to the team and Craig and everybody, because they did a fantastic job for these both European events.
Thank you, Sebastian. 2 consecutive wins for this young French rookie. Calvin?
Well, it's pandemonium right now as Mario Dominguez goes to the crowd and waves that Mexican flag, backing up the podium finish last week. Mario, a little bit of controversy there with the 5-second penalty, and what was the difference between what you were doing and what Sebastian was doing at the end?
I tell you what, I can't believe they penalized me for blocking, and he does the same, or even a bit worse than me, and he doesn't get penalized. Why do I have to get the bad end of it, you know? Somebody's got to talk to the officials in CART, because that wasn't fair.
But this result for you, Mario, has to be huge for you to actually get another podium finish. I know the win was so close today, but this team is on a roll. It can't be long before you get that first win this year.
We're going to get it for sure, sooner or later, but today the Herders competition did a great job, and I want to thank everybody in Germany. It's been great, and it was good racing. I don't have a problem with that, but if they do it to me, why not to him, you know? I think he was doing okay as far as I'm concerned, but then CART is wrong.
Everyone thinks it was racing, boys, but 2 Mexicans on the podium. Derek Daly's with the other one.
Indeed, 3rd place, Michel Jourdain. You had to enjoy that. That looked just superb. 3 cars over the line, covered by a blanket.
Yes, it was a great race. We had a very bad first pit stop, and we crashed with Rodolfo there. I'm sorry you know, for him, but I mean, we just came out everybody in a mess, and then we went to the back, we catch them, and then we got a penalty in the pit stop, so we went to the back, and then we got back again, you know, we led some laps, but we just didn't have anything for them, you know. Sebastian and Mario, their cars were just a little faster than ours, so it was just flat out the last 15 laps, flat out, and couldn't catch them.
Thank you, Michel. Go enjoy the ceremonies. Thank you.
Enjoy them indeed. Here's a look at the final results. 0.084 seconds, the margin of victory for Sebastian Bourdais. Bruno Junqueira, Pastoral Servi at the end for 4th place. Paul Tracy finishes 12th. He and Junqueira are now tied at the top of the championship table. Only 3 cars out of the race all day long. So for Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fish, I'm Bob Varsha saying so long from Germany. Coming up next, live final round coverage of the inaugural Wachovia Championship. It's been a great day here, highlighted by the return of Alex Zanardi and a terrific race by some terrific young racing drivers. Final thoughts, Tommy Kendall?
Well, I mean, what an enjoyable day of auto racing. But seeing Alex come back the way he did and an absolutely scintillating oval race, something that's been lacking the last couple of years.
We'll see you next year on CBS from California in June. Until then, so long from Germany. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports.